Thank you for joining the First Middle Church of Christ. We're really glad to have you. Be sure to go over to our social media platforms and like and follow us. Even check out our YouTube channel. Be sure to subscribe and pass along to your friends. Our message today is called The Books Were Opened. And our text will be coming from Revelation chapter 20, verses 11 through 15. And they read this word. And I saw a great white throne and the one sitting on it. The sky and earth fled from his presence, but they found no place to hide. I saw the dead, both great and small, standing before God's throne, and the books were opened, including the book of life. And the dead were judged according to what they had done, as recorded in the books. The sea gave up the dead, and death and the grave gave up their dead, and all were judged according to their deeds. Then death and the grave were thrown into the lake of fire. The lake of fire is the second death, and anyone whose name was not found recorded in the book of life was thrown into the lake of fire. Here will be the most awesome event that will ever take place throughout all eternity in human existence. There will be none like it, and you won't be able to escape it. And no matter what people say, you are going to stand before the judgment of God. Hebrews 9:27 says, "It is appointed unto man once to die, but after this, the judgment." Here is God on the throne, and there are millions and billions of people standing before the throne of God. And the holy angels of God are probably standing behind the throne of God, encircling all the people that had ever lived, and it's the judgment of God. The judgment will be complete. Every person from every age and nation will be there. Every deed and motive will have been recorded. It will be the day when God will judge the secrets of men spoken of by Paul in Romans 2:16. And this is the message I proclaim, that the day is coming when God, through Christ Jesus, will judge everyone's secret life. There will be only two classes of people on that day, the saved and the lost. Suddenly God calls your name, and you are going to give an account of the deeds that you have done in this body. Everybody that have ever lived will be there. Your spouse, children, grandparents, and even your parents are going to be there. And everybody expected so much from you. Even your preacher, teachers, and your friends will be there also. And they all had such great hopes for you. But worse than that, the all-knowing, the undeceivable, eternal God is going to be there in all his glory. And he is not going to be some black-rimmed glasses, sandal-toting weakling of a Jesus either. Because when he comes, he is coming in the flames of fire. And none of the sins of the world will be hidden anymore. But notice that in verse 12, and the books were opened. Books, being plural, means more than one. The books that will judge you will be the Bible, the book of life, and you're going to see if your name was there. But unfortunate thing is, your name used to be there, but it's blotted out. And there'll be the Book of Remembrance. Malachi 3:16, and a book of remembrance was written before him for them that fear the Lord and that thought upon his name. Jude 14-16, Enoch, who had lived the seventh generation after Adam, prophesied about these people. He said, "Listen, the Lord is coming with countless thousands of his holy ones to execute judgment upon the people of the world. He will convict every person of their ungodly things that have ever done, and for all the insults that ungodly sinners have spoken against him." These people are grumblers and complainers, living only to satisfy their desires. They brag loudly about themselves, and they flatter others to get what they want. It sounds familiar, doesn't it? It sounds like a lot of people today who are self-centered, self-righteous. Sounds a lot like them, doesn't it? When Christ comes, that is going to be the end of the world. There is not going to be a tribulation period, as our denominational friends predict. Matthew 25:32, and before him shall be gathered all nations, and he shall separate them one from another, as a shepherd divideth his sheep from the goats. And in verse 34, the 25th chapter of Matthew, and then shall the king say unto them on the right hand, Come, you blessed of my Father, inherit the kingdom prepared for you from the foundations of the world. And in that same chapter, verse 41, then shall he say unto them on the left hand, Depart from me, you cursed, into everlasting fire, prepared for the devil and his angels. When Christ returns, you are not going to get a second chance to get it right. The judgment is set, and men and women and children will be executed after the judgment when God convicts them. The purpose of the judgment is not to convince me that I am guilty, because I already know that I am. The purpose is to convict me, to bring evidence against me to show the world. He is going to convict the people of their ungodly deeds and their ungodly words. If you look into Luke chapter 16, verse 25, two words stand out in the story about the rich man and Lazarus. They are, Son, remember? If God is going to convict me, then the Book of Remembrance has to have evidence, probably full of Son, remember? There will probably be 3 chapters in this book. Chapter 1, your life of opportunities. You had a chance. It is not that you didn't know. It was like a lifeboat going by and you rejected it. Maybe you were on the lifeboat and you jumped off. Remember how your mom and your dad tried to teach you? And how they used to take you to church? Probably some of the things that you heard will go through your mind. And at that particular chapter, you will be convinced because of the opportunities you had. You rejected it after you heard it. Remember the chance you had to attend church? A chance to read the Bible? Remember when people tried to talk to you about the Bible? You just turned deaf ear to them? Because you were too busy filling yourself with the cares of the world? Remember telling yourself that you had plenty of time to attend church? Or telling yourself that there are some things you need to do before you get too old to do them? Flashbacks are going to start going through your mind. You have heard the message of Christ under favorable conditions. Somebody sat down with you and they explained it to you. It's easy to understand. You're a sinner and you're lost. God sent his Son into the world to save sinners. Who has ever heard of John 3:16? Remember the revivals you could have attended, but you chose to stay home? Remember the time for you to study the Bible for a Sunday school lesson, but you chose to watch TV? Remember when your family wanted to do devotion time, but you chose to go out? Remember when the minister came over and explained the plan of salvation to you, but you chose not to listen? Remember the Wednesday night service? Remember the Sunday morning service? Remember the Sunday night service? The flashbacks will be on the time you were at the crossroads and you had to make a decision. Do I go this way to heaven or do I go this way to hell? Remember the time you held on to the back of the pews or the back of that chair until your knuckles were white and you never made a decision. But your pride will be stripped in that day. You will stand before the Creator of the universe speechless. You are not even going to attempt to answer him. Anything that will come out of your mouth will sound foolish. In the 2nd chapter in the Book of Remembrance, I believe, will be the life of reality. Life as it was, not what you thought. Hell was not going to be what you thought. Flashbacks of your parents sitting in a counselor's office, a minister's office, or a principal's office, because you thought that your parents didn't love you. It's going to testify against you. Your parents did care about you. They just didn't know how to handle you spiritually. If you want friends, you're going to have to show yourself friendly. If you want forgiveness, you're going to have to show forgiveness. If you want mercy, you're going to have to show mercy. Nothing will be hidden. Luke 12:2, for there is nothing covered that shall not be revealed, neither hid that shall not be known. People are going to find out the truth on that day. On the day of judgment, God will open the hearts and reveal to you the contents that laid inside it. The contents will show how judgmental you really were. It will show how deceitful you was. And each one of us is going to see the things like that in our lives as we stand before God. Even though I am a Christian, I am going to stand before God and give an account of my deeds, my stewardship, my works, my thoughts, my actions. It's going to be a terrible day for a lot of us. You will really see what your friends thought about you behind your back. All the time you spent trying to be a good student, a good sportsman, and all the money you spent, and all the worldly fame you wanted will be revealed. You will see the vanity of these things. How much of eternity did that expensive car mean to you? How much of eternity did those expensive clothes and shoes and objects mean to you? You will be shown the value of things. When you get upset because a preacher went 10 minutes overtime preaching, or when you get upset because someone came forward and accepted Christ and it held church over a little bit. Don't let the life of reality cause you to lose your soul. And I believe that the third chapter in this book of remembrance is going to be life as it could have been with Christ. I think God will show us how our life would have been if we completely surrendered it to Christ. Here is what would have happened if you were dedicated. Here is what would have happened if you obeyed the gospel. Here is what would have happened if you sold out for God. God will probably show you what your health would have been like if you would have surrendered it to Him. God will probably fast forward your life and how much better it would have been if you totally sold out to Him. No jail, no hell, no divorce. Kids would have turned out better. Then I think He will show us how He could have used us. In the day of judgment, He will show us how our talents could have been used. How your time could have meant something instead of being wasted 8 to 9 hours a day watching TV. How your life could have had love and not hate, purpose and not chaos. And just think of all the other people that you could have gotten to go to heaven with you. Everything will be exposed. Then the judgment will be handed down. Depart from me, I never knew you. I want to remind you, you could have your name written in the Lamb Book of Life, but also you can have it blotted out. Romans 22:18 says, "And I solemnly declare to everyone who hears the word of this prophecy written in this book, if anyone adds to anything that is written here, God will add to that person the plagues described in this book. And if anyone removes any of the words from the book of this prophecy, God will remove that person's share in the tree of life and in the holy city that are described in this book." The only way to have something cleansed is to have it washed in the soul-cleansing blood of the Lamb. I want to give you an opportunity to destroy the old tapes and become a new creation and walk in the newness of life. Satan will still tempt you. He will still persecute you, but God will always provide a way of escape. No one will avoid the hour of the wrath of God mercifully because they have died. God will call the dead to life again. The realm of the unseen surrendered its dead. The cemetery will not be a safe place to hide from God on the day you will stand vindicated holiness, righteousness, and justice in His moral universe. The day that God casts death and Hades into the lake of fire will cause the skeptics, the scoffers, and the unrepentant to cry out for the rocks and the mountains to hide them. But God's sovereign sway encompasses even the realms of the dead. This is the final verse of the great judgment scene. The curtain falls on the drama. The universe has acted out the will and purpose of its creator. Now, God stands before man. The marvel of His creative word either as judge or redeemer.